edition of the Panthers and the Lightning in Tampa. The only road game here in this big long stretch of games. What do you expect from the game tomorrow night?
Well, they'll come in off. They had a tough one in here. They'll remember that. They had a tough one last game. They'll get a new player very probably in their lineup, so that usually will give them some jump. And we need it bad, so we'll have the energy for it.
And Anthony Duclair, obviously having him in the mix, it was a big jolt for everybody just to see him get back in there. And how have you seen him the last few days? What have you taken from just the way he's immersed himself back in?
Well, we were really happy with his game, being he'd been out so long. Didn't show really any sign. As a matter of fact, he made a bunch of good reads in the game, which were new reads for him. He hadn't been on the ice in a game doing that. What I like the most about him is he's a goal scorer, so he practices that. I know that there's some guys come down, they just shoot, and then this guy comes down, he's looking to score every single time. His eyes stay on pucks, he goes to the net the way, like he practices his craft. Very, very strong skater, but he led our team in hits. I'm not going to try to turn this guy into a bruiser, but he was engaged in that game, and we just want to kind of keep that going for him.
Looking at the injury report, Barkey, Bennett, Stahl.
Eric Stahl will play tomorrow. That's our mindset now. The other two will not.
What did without the, obviously you're missing your top two centers. It's a big deal. What did I don't know? Maybe you guys learn from playing over the weekend without them. What do you need to do better?
Yeah, I mean, we generated enough in that game. Whatever they finally decided the shots were, somewhere between 45 and 100. I don't know what they decided, but we put up enough offense in the game. Your centermen are the one player that interacts directly at both ends of the ice. We did some things with the puck that caused us problems. We didn't need more offense in that game. We needed to give less, and that will be the focus. When you have those two guys out of your lineup, you probably won't hang on to the puck in the offensive zone quite as much. They're both big, strong men. And you're going to have to battle harder in your own end. You lose that size and that strength, and clearly the puck moving, they can both move. They're powerful guys. For our team, it's important, but there's not a team in the NHL that you pull the top two out. We're just going to look different, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be quite as dynamic. So we've got to be considerably smarter with what we do with the puck. Make our plays when they're there, and then be more patient when they're not.
It's like the time of year where, I mean, ideally you're kind of doing the same thing every game, right? Like you know who you are by now,
right.
But when every game matters like this, how tough is it to go in to a game like this where you have to kind of plan differently, and then hopefully they get back and you have to go back?
It's the challenges of injury. I mean, I think what the challenge here is we did have this block of time looking at a place where we need to be able to go, and it's going to be hard to look the same way. Then you put Duclair in, which is a great thing, but it's an addition you don't get to feel the full benefit of, and then you're now running different line combinations because of the two missing centermen. So we've got to adjust on the fly here. I still think that these two injuries are short-term. They're not long-term. We're not talking about another week past this. I think we'll see them back hopefully by the weekend, and then we can start, really drilling down. What we got to do is stay within structure even if we don't have chemistry. So even if there's not a lot of ease out there between the lines because they haven't played together, they got to stay in structure, do smart things with the puck, and work their asses off.
What do you like about the damage that second line could do? Obviously, Lusty in the middle, but then so much speed and scoring with Duke and Brady on the wings.
Yeah, they get up and down the ice as good as the line that you've seen. Finding that speed, so for Luostarinen, that's the challenge. Where to put it into holes, where to try to make plays. But the goal they scored solely based on speed, but it was Luostarinen's speed actually. The one guy, we don't talk about drive in the middle to open the lane to make that happen. So it's a new look for him to be playing with two guys that skate so fast that you don't want to slow the game down on him, but it's also freeing for him, right? He can put it into holes, he can put it in front of him, and while they can be dynamic on the rush, we should be able to forecheck too with that line.
Coach, we always talk about how games down the stretch, really around the league, tighten up, right? Because teams are fighting for playoff spots. Right. And how much have you seen in the second half that kind of be true, where games are starting to tighten up and maybe changing a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it happens to every team. The teams, and then there's some teams that become very, very dangerous this time of year. The teams that are slightly out of it that are just playing loose, and you'll see a bunch of them go on a run now because the other team has to manage the risk profile. Those teams don't. And then the other thing you see is games will break more now. So you started to see some bigger score games. It doesn't mean that game was wide open from the start. It meant that as soon as it got away, the team that's got the most on the line, when a game breaks on them, one way or the other, you usually see them fall off in a game. So you see the bigger score games against those because these are playoff games for us. The emotion of them, the losses are tougher, the wins are more exciting and more satisfying. And then managing those on the off days is all about what we're doing. You lose a game, you got to pick yourself back up and be ready for the next night.
Do you have to coach any differently, trying to manage both that there is a sense of urgency in these games, but also not wanting to put so much pressure on it that guys
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah, I mean, you want to control the mood in your room and control the intensity in the room, but I've welcomed the pressure more. It's something, I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to get to a place where there's tremendous pressure, and you want to do that for 2 months. So we bring it into the room, feel it, and harness it, and harness that, and then you get to keep it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.